Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
I love motorcycles, and I love the art of the motorcycle.
It's important to understand the effects of climate change on flowering.
Know that you can have this conversation and help kids feel better.
Today on Spotlight, we'll talk to the author of a book on emergency preparedness for schools. Plus 21 mannequins, each representing a different business in the U-City Loop. And then the annual print art exhibit, how they plan on creating massive prints on a very large scale. But first, a showcase honoring rare and custom-built motorcycles. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
I love motorcycles, and I love the art of the motorcycle. And if there's a way I can celebrate that and do it here in St. Louis, it's awesome. My name is Randall Nolch, and I am the curator and creator of Cycle Showcase STL. By trade, I work in the music industry, and I produce concerts. About 15 years ago, I noticed that there was a lack of really good motorcycle shows. I've been a motorcyclist my whole life, and there's a lack of really good motorcycle shows right here in my area. And why isn't anybody putting one on? And I'm the guy. I know how to put on concerts. I thought, how hard can it be? So here I am 10 years later, with lost half my hair, and it's been great. It's been fantastic. It's a passion project. Cycle Showcase STL is a 50-bike motorcycle exhibit, art exhibit, craftsman exhibit. It celebrates all types of motorcycles: European, Japanese, American, custom, racing. It's a great celebration of everything from all over the country. People are really starting to appreciate what's happening right here in St. Louis. Something I've pride myself on is the diversity here, and to make it kid-friendly, family-friendly.
I really love classic motorcycles. I think the lines were so beautiful back then, so that's kind of what attracts me to them. It's just, I think they look really great.
These bikes are like art, they're beautiful, and the fact that they take the old ones and they restore them to new is very encouraging to me, and I love that idea of the past and current coming together.
Each of the bikes that are on display here, there's a piece of paper underneath, and there's something written on the paper, why it was included in the show, why it's unique, what makes it special. For a number of years, when someone would say he's a motorcyclist or he's a biker, there's a stereotype a lot of people had in their head, and it's fueled by TV shows and movies and things. There's not a lot of shows about the guy that got on his bike and he rode across Europe for 3 months and the adventures that he had.
I'm Charlie Weissel. Some people know me as Traveling Chopper. I live in Boulder, Colorado. Definitely a big honor to be invited to something like this and show a bike that I'm proud of and share an experience that I'm proud of as well. I spent a lot of years on the road, traveling around the world. I've done 28 or 29 different countries on the motorcycle that I have.
Уже осуществляет свою мечту.
Because I feel like most people...
Я не сомневался, потому что многие люди...
And most recently completed a round the world trip over the course of 1 year. And it was about 34,000 miles around the globe. And finished that up a couple months ago. The bike I took on this last trip, I've owned for 17 years. And it's also my only motorcycle, so I take it everywhere.
The first motorcycle had pedals. It very much resembles what we think of as a moped now. Had barely 3 horsepower, and now some of them are well over 100 horsepower. The design of the bike is split off into many genres, from road racing to cruising around town, to long-range travel bikes, motocross bikes, high-speed race bikes. The design has drifted and changed for what genre of motorcycle you want to go into. And you can go down the rabbit hole on each one of those, but it's still just 2 wheels. There are times when I go for a ride on a day off, and I feel like I did when I was 6 and the training wheels came off. The ability to go anywhere you want, a little bit of danger in there, you know. And as I've gotten older, I started building motorcycles after building bikes and seeing other bike shows. And now it's the beauty of the motorcycle, the beauty of the engineering, the beauty of the design, the paintwork, the metal sculpture, all of it.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. As part of National Safety Month, Classroom Matters podcast host Christy Houle talked with school emergency management expert Claire Marie to discuss her new book on school lockdowns. Claire dives deep into her passion for approaching emergency preparedness and management through a trauma-informed lens and supporting schools to do the same.
Claire often hears about young kids and adults who struggle with lockdown drills. Why is it so important that we do actually put 100% into all of these emergency drills and do them frequently? What's the importance in that?
When emergencies hit, we don't stay in our thinking brain, in our prefrontal cortex, right? A different part of our brain appropriately takes over, especially for little kids, right? Their prefrontal cortex is still developing. We really have to make sure that we empower them beforehand. And it's important when we think about doing drills, when we teach drills, that a part of that conversation is not just how to do the drill when it comes to staff, but how to do it in a trauma-informed way.
Talk a little bit about the us preparing kids before the school year, or if we know a drill is going to happen.
It is so important that we have these conversations in the home. I think what maybe we don't realize is we teach kids all the time different ways to be safe. You know, they do stuff every single day. Mm-hmm. Lockdown really stands out because it is often in our brains attached to the concept of active shooter, which is horrific. We don't want that to ever happen. So I understand that. But what we need to do is bring the conversation back to the different ways that kids practice being safe every day, because that normalizes the fact that you do practice being safe every day. And so you can have conversations around what is one thing you do every day to be safe, you know, and I'll say, I put on my seatbelt when I get in the car and I look both ways before I cross the road. They will match your emotions, right? So you need to be the calm grounding force. They will come back to that with you.
So you're going from school safety, school preparedness, emergency management, trauma-informed, to writing a children's book, which is pretty awesome.
You know, writing a children's book was never something that I had planned on doing. It came out of me needing a tool to better interact with and work with young kids, especially. I was just struggling in the classroom, trying to make it a more trauma-informed approach, especially for the littles. There are a few other children's books out there that look at lockdown, and I wouldn't say anything negative about them. They just weren't filling the need that I had, in the sense that all feelings are valid, but I don't want to show a kid crying or in fear in a children's book, and especially they have not been introduced to lockdown before. If they naturally on their own have a little bit of anxiety and fear, that's totally valid, but I'm not going to put that out there for them to like, oh, should I be scared of this? And the other thing that this book has that I haven't seen in any others is there's 4 pages of support information for parents and caring adults on how to have these conversations. I understand why we might not have that conversation. We're afraid we're opening Pandora's box, but the challenge is that there is this kind of rumbling, right, that the kids are aware of, young kids, and then we don't talk to them, and so they sit in secrecy and silence. And that's when it's hardest, when we are afraid and we are alone. And so, you know, I get why we might stick our head in the sand, but I'm going to encourage us that we pull our head out of the sand and know that you can have this conversation. You really can. And it will help kids to feel better.
For the full episode, head to educate.today or wherever you get your podcasts.
First person, real world, expert driven. That's the focus of the videos, lesson plans, and activity ideas you'll find at our educational website, educate.today.
This whole project, people look forward to it every year now.
Each spring, dozens of artists come from all over and converge on the Del Mar Loop in order to compete in the Mannequins project.
Oh my gosh, this is in the Del Mar Loop, this artistically oriented area. Makes sense. But then they find out more about it and how much more it makes sense to embrace the artists that they support and the environment and everything else.
Well, they're local and national artists. We solicit any artist within any medium, 18 years or older, to participate.
This is my second time doing this competition, so I've learned a lot from the first time.
Molly Freilich is a recent MSU grad who came here from Springfield, Missouri in order to pick up her mannequin.
I didn't know that we could paint on it, that we could extend the profile, that we could use more than just fabric.
The artists picked up their mannequins in late April. Each one is a blank canvas that can be decorated as much or as little as they like.
Our goal is for you to not spend any money in this project, but to find recycled materials from just found objects that you can use.
And I have kind of like a steampunk sorceress in mind.
It is the 5th year in the competition for Vicki Schultz.
I am a steampunk artist and author. I write steampunk science fiction novels. And then I create steampunk fashion from upcycled objects.
We need to start reusing, saving our earth, reusing our recyclable materials and being conscious of it. And that's really the great thing about partnering with the high school, because that's our next generation.
Students at University City High School collaborated on this mannequin, which stands as proud as a lion outside of Red Lion Customs, a clothing store.
U City is unique, and it's very artistic.
The artists and designers each pay an entry fee, which goes to fund a scholarship. This year's recipient from U City is Camille Buck, who will attend Florida A&M University this fall.
We're surrounded by phenomenal educational institutions, Washington University, other institutions as well. And we have a phenomenal school district, so we have students that are participating in this project as well. And we have a phenomenal art program at University City High School.
The scholarship is named for Dorothy Davis, co-founder of the Mannequins Project. She is also Audrey's mom. The rest of the money goes to the winners of the competition.
First and second place get cash prize, and the third place is an audience favorite where our visitors are welcome to vote on their favorite mannequin.
It is the second time that Blank Canvas Studios is competing in the Mannequins Project. They took home a second-place prize several years ago. The studio works with artists that have developmental disabilities and mental health challenges.
What's been the hardest part about doing the mannequin?
Making her head.
The head part is the hardest, because you had to get the shaped right, put all that paper mache on there, and let it dry. We had to do 4 layers.
There's around 30 artists at the studio, and a lot of them had a hand in creating their mannequin known as Penny.
This is the Peacock Diner mascot, Penny, who works as a waitress at the Peacock Diner. So she is serving you Peacock waitress realness. She's gonna have a tray. She is gonna have some boots.
From this to this, the artists had 4 weeks to design and decorate their mannequins. When complete, each will highlight one of 21 small businesses throughout the Del Mar Loop. Artist M. Lene got the competition's very first plus-size mannequin in its 14-year history.
I requested a plus-size mannequin. When I got here, Three Kings was assigned to it, so I'm just feeling like this is a divine situation. So I'm super excited that this is the business that I'm pretty much representing.
Shortly after we met M. Lene, Three Kings Restaurant and the upstairs apartments were ravaged by an early morning fire, leaving the Del Mar Loop location a total loss. Her mannequin is one of 2 representing Three Kings this year.
And I just feel like I still wanted to kind of, make them understand that they're not forgotten.
A landscaping technique called Rainscaping, later on Spotlight.
We're at the Foundry Art Centre in our main galleries, and our current exhibition is Off the Block, which is a print exhibition. This show features 12 print artists from across the country working in all different types of print media and print methods. The community has a chance with this exhibition to learn about all different types of print techniques, everything from etching, dry point, wood carving, monotypes, and animation actually. So there's a lot of print media and techniques on display. Most of our 12 artists featured are regional artists. There are a few from across the country, but most are regional, which is amazing because it's another chance for the Foundry to focus on the amazing regional talent that we have here. One of the primary missions of the Foundry is not just spotlighting regional talent of our artists, but also educating the community and getting the community involved in the arts. The arts are something for everyone, and as an art center in St. Charles, we're a place where the community can come together, learn about art, participate in art, and be inspired. This show really focuses on what the Foundry does in the summer, which is focusing on all things printmaking. On June 24th, which is the last day of this exhibition, the Foundry hosts our annual Block Party, which is the largest steamroller printing event in the Midwest and potentially the country. Everyone is invited to come and participate and engage in printmaking in all of its different forms. So we'll have demonstrations, and the main event, of course, is steamroller printing, where we work with Graphic House USA, a St. Louis print studio, and we commission artists from the region to create large 3-foot by 5-foot wood blocks, and then those blocks are inked up and run over with a steamroller to create massive prints. It's a great way for the community to learn about printmaking on a very large scale and see how printmaking is done. It's a whole day of printmaking, art, food, drink, music. It's fantastic. And of course, everyone can come in and experience the exhibition. Off the Block Print Show will be on exhibition through June 24th, and you can learn more about this exhibition as well as our block party by going to our website at foundryartcenter.org.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Mid-America Emmys, Tellys, Natoas, Auroras, and other awards. HEC Media has been bringing home the hardware for over a decade. Hundreds of nominations and wins, from regional to international levels. Arts and education to author talks, magazine shows and documentaries. Individual craft achievements to overall excellence. Plus so much more. And although doing good work is its own reward, recognition, well, it's nice too. See what all the fuss is about. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
Wildflowers are noticeably rooted in our environment, easily seen by their colors and beauty. They are more than spring decor. They are the calm and quiet participants in the ecosystem. Flowers provide food and habitat to pollinators and birds. Flowering plants help make our landscapes more sustainable. They bloom and thrive when the climate is right. This is why climate change is a concern worth studying.
It's important to understand the effects of climate change on flowering, both for the conservation of flowering plant species and also for the preservation of biodiversity broadly.
Matthew Austin is a postdoctoral research fellow with the Living Earth Collaborative at Washington University in St. Louis, working in collaboration with the Missouri Botanical Garden.
My area of research is exploring how climate change affects how plants survive and reproduce.
Austin works closely with the experts at Missouri Botanical Garden at Shaw Nature Reserve. This is where he's conducted experiments with flowers over the years.
This research is important beyond just the enjoyment of flowers because understanding what affects the time of year that plants reproduce is important for their conservation.
Recently, his lab focused on a flower that blooms in early spring, Leavenworthia.
Leavenworthia comprises 8 species, and half of those species, 4 out of 8, are imperiled or critically imperiled, and 1 is threatened to such a degree that it's listed on the U.S. Endangered Species Act. It's important for Leavenworthia to occur early in the spring before species that occur later in the year emerge and could be potential competitors with Leavenworthia. In environments with many competitors, there can be fitness disadvantages to species in terms of not being able to attract as many pollinators as they would if they were blooming in environments with fewer other species present. Thus, it is highly important for the conservation of this threatened group of plants to study how climate change is affecting the time of year that their reproduction occurs.
Austin's student and lab assistant, Kelsey Bartlett, is the lead author of the Leavenworthia study.
The two main questions we wanted to answer were, one, is Leavenworthia phenology, which is flowering or fruiting time, is that changed over time, over the 117 years that our records span? And if so, how? And then second, we were curious about what factors had the biggest influence on flowering and fruiting time.
Bartlett's role was virtual from Washington, D.C.
Pretty much consisted of looking at this giant spreadsheet of these 900 different records that we compiled from these different sources. Most of the species occur in the central basin of Tennessee. However, there's a much more widespread species, Leavenworthia uniflora, that occurs west of the Mississippi. We used a statistical process called variance partitioning, did a lot of fun code.
Some of the records were collected at Shaw Nature Reserve.
And what we found was that Leavenworthia flowering time has advanced by about 2 days per decade, and fruiting time has advanced by about 1.3 days per decade.
The research team then used the data to examine the role of climate change.
We were surprised by the findings of the study. In particular, we predicted that the non-climatic factors that we looked at, such as latitude, which is a proxy for day length, would have a much larger role. Rather, we were surprised that climatic factors, in particular spring temperature and spring precipitation, had a by far dominant influence on the time of year of Leavenworthia reproduction. Their flowering occurs earlier in warmer and drier springs.
Austin says the study has value for conservation efforts of Leavenworthia and much more.
This research can be used to perform similar studies in species that are important for global food supply, such as many of our important crop species. It would be interesting to compare whether species that are important for the global food supply are similarly mostly affected by climate compared to non-climatic factors, as we found in Leavenworthia.
Go to hecmedia.org for the arts and authors,
Completely accidental because I never set out to write a book.
science and history, culture and community,
It's considered to be the oldest organic farm west of the Mississippi.
education, films,
Finding the coin places the site firmly in the 13th century.
what's happening now around St. Louis, and more. See for yourself at hecmedia.org.
Erin Maloney's kids may call her a plant nerd, but the rain capturing steps she's taken outside her South St. Louis home have empowered her.
I would say, honestly, this has been a life-changing experience for me.
Along with the beauty of the rain gardens outside her home, her family's basement has not flooded since she added native plants and rain barrels as part of a larger rainscaping project. An added bonus, the new environment has attracted new birds.
We have had that birdhouse up for a couple of years now, and this is the first time that we've had a nest of black-capped chickadees, and it's been really fun this spring to watch them develop a nest and watch them come and feed their babies and it's been really fun to watch.
Maloney's efforts were boosted by the MSD Project Clear Rainscaping Small Grants Program. The program gives homeowners resources and funding to take steps like planting rain-soaking native plants, installing permeable pavers, or utilizing water barrels to reduce stormwater runoff. The Missouri Botanical Gardens administers the program.
Rainscaping is a sustainable landscaping practice. It harnesses the power of native plants to catch rainwater where it falls. So if we only use impervious surfaces like concrete and lawn grass that don't allow water to penetrate, that water is going to flow over the ground and pick up pollutants on its way to the storm drains and our rivers and streams.
Soccer fans heading to the new City Park Stadium may also notice something new outside the nearby headquarters of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District. Its entrance features rainscaping that's not just beautiful, it's environmentally friendly. The site is capable of storing about 14,000 gallons of water at any one time.
This area is a great example of rainscaping and landscape architecture that you can utilize at homes and businesses in the St. Louis area.
In an effort to practice what it preaches, MSD spent months reconstructing its outdoor entrance into an outdoor classroom in rain capturing practices. From a vegetative green roof system to rain chains that carry water to a storage cistern that can be later used for irrigation, to native plants and weirs that hold excess stormwater, residents can come here to learn about what's possible.
The ultimate goal of rainscaping is to capture the rainwater where it falls and to keep it out of our combined sewer system from overflowing into the river.
MSD originally needed to update its exterior to address accessibility issues, but what it ended up with was much more. The area includes signage and a demonstration garden where residents can learn about native plants firsthand.
When you view the demonstration garden, you can see the mulch and pea gravel and the different plants that you can plant at home. The Small Grants program is available to anyone in the MSD service area. It ranges from $3,000 to $4,000, and people can apply for advance payments and get reimbursed for rain gardening projects on their home. So that's important, again, for water quality and stormwater reduction.
Homeowners interested in the program first should start by going to MSD Project Clear's website to learn more. Then they can turn to the Missouri Botanical Gardens, which runs the program. Applications are accepted year-round.
And we'll connect you with the resources, we'll connect you with the application and the materials. We also provide a list of contractors who have participated in the program in the past, and the contractors can come out to your site, do a consultation, help you come up with a design and a bid, and then you'll submit that as part of your application. We answer questions along the way, and we try to be like a homeowner advocate throughout the process.
Erin Maloney points out the rainscaping features in her yard are more low maintenance and require less energy than traditional lawns.
I would just encourage people to go for it.
Her experience has only inspired her to do more.
I'm already thinking about what can we do next with our neighbors to do something like in the media? Is there ways that we can continue planting trees to kind of continue attracting wildlife and then helping with the runoff and the flooding and things like that? That's going to continue to be an issue.
Anyone in the MSD service area is eligible to apply for a rainscaping grant. Businesses and other organizations can also apply for up to $10,000 in grant money to fund rainscaping features.
Next week, nonprofit group the St. Louis Classical Guitar Organization. Plus, the St. Louis Art Museum showcases works from the last 500 years. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.